I was walking up to my parents' front door, my heart feeling heavy like it always did when I visited, when I heard their voices through the slightly open window. My mom's voice was soft but firm, the way it used to be when she comforted me as a child. "Don't worry about the debt, honey. We've handled it. Just focus on getting back on your feet." My hand froze on the doorknob. The cool evening breeze suddenly felt sharp against my skin. I stood there, hidden by the shadows of the porch, as my entire world quietly cracked open. My name is Sarah, and for 28 years I believed I had the kind of family other people envied. We weren't rich, but we were close. Or at least I thought we were. I was the oldest, the responsible one, the daughter who always showed up. My younger brother Michael was the charming one, the golden child who could make my parents laugh even when things were falling apart. I worked as a marketing coordinator at a small firm in the city. The pay wasn't amazing, but I stretched every dollar. I helped my parents with their bills whenever I could. I had even helped Michael multiple times before, paying his rent when he lost jobs, covering his credit card bills when he overspent. I told myself that's what family does. We lift each other up. But that evening, standing outside their modest 3-bedroom home in the suburbs outside Chicago, everything I believed started to unravel. I had come over that day because my mother had called me earlier, sounding tired. She said they needed to talk about something important. I assumed it was about their health or maybe the old roof they kept postponing repairs on. I even brought some groceries and a fresh apple pie from the bakery down the street, hopping to make them smile. As I stood there frozen, I heard my father sigh deeply. "We took out a second mortgage on the house, again, but your sister doesn't need to know. She already does so much." My mother's voice dropped lower. "Michael, we love you, but $75,000 is not a small amount. We can't keep doing this forever." $75,000. The number hit me like a slap. My knees felt weak. I pressed my back against the cool brick wall of the house, trying to breathe quietly. $75,000 for my brother's debts. While I had been living in a tiny studio apartment, skipping meals some weeks, and sending them whatever I could spare every month. I remembered all the times I had asked for help. Last year, when my company delayed salaries for 3 months, I came to them almost in tears. My father had looked at me with disappointment and said, "Sarah, you're a grown woman now. You need to learn to manage better." My mother had quietly added, "We don't have anything extra right now, sweetie." Yet here they were, risking their house for my brother. I wanted to burst in and scream. Instead, I stood there listening as they comforted him, telling him how much they loved him, how he was their only son, how they would always protect him. Every word felt like a knife slowly turning in my chest. Tears burned in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Not yet. I quietly stepped back from the door, walked down the quiet suburban street, and sat on a bench near the neighborhood park for almost an hour. My mind was spinning. How long had this been going on? How many times had they chosen him over me while pretending we were all equal? That night I went home and cried until my eyes were swollen. But somewhere between the tears and the anger, a new feeling was born, something cold and clear. I was done being invisible. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I started noticing everything I had ignored for years. The way my parents lit up when Michael walked into the room. The way they always made excuses for his failures, but expected perfection from me. The family photos where Michael was always in the center. I found old messages on my mother's phone when she left it charging at my apartment one weekend. There were multiple transfers to Michael, large amounts, while I received polite thank yous for my smaller contributions. The betrayal ran so deep it made me question my entire childhood. Was I ever truly loved? Or was I just the reliable daughter they used as a safety net while spoiling their son? One evening, I confronted my mother gently. I didn't tell her what I had overheard. I simply said I was struggling financially and asked if they could help me this time. Her face changed. She looked uncomfortable. "Honey, things are tight right now. Your father's pension adjustments are delayed. Maybe next month." I nodded, forcing a smile. Inside, something broke completely. That was the moment I decided I would never ask them for anything again. More than that, I decided I was going to change the way they saw me forever. I started working harder than I ever had. I took on freelance projects late into the night. I learned new skills, advanced digital marketing, SEO, content strategy, and social media management. I barely slept. I ate cheap takeout. I sacrificed my social life completely. But every time doubt crept in, I remembered that conversation outside their door. The softness in their voices for my brother. The complete absence of that softness when it came to me. 6 months later, I launched my own small digital marketing agency from my tiny studio apartment. My first few clients came from connections I had built quietly. I worked with local businesses, then bigger ones. I was good at it, really good, because I understood struggle. I understood what it felt like when no one believed in you. Meanwhile, things at home were getting worse for them. Michael's problems didn't stop. He got into more trouble, new debts, new excuses. My parents started looking tired, older, worried. They began calling me more often, asking me to visit, hinting that they needed family support. I visited, but I was different now. I didn't offer money. I didn't solve their problems. I simply listened and smiled politely. One day, my father called me in a panic. Michael had defaulted again, and the bank was threatening foreclosure. They had already put the house at risk once. They needed help. This was my moment. I went to their house that evening with a calm heart. My mother greeted me with hopeful eyes. "Sarah, thank God you came. We don't know what to do." I sat down across from both of them. Michael wasn't there. I made sure of that. I looked at them and spoke clearly, my voice steady even though my heart was racing. "I know about the $75,000. I heard everything that night outside the door." The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face went pale. My father looked away, ashamed. I continued. "For years I gave whatever I could. I sacrificed. I believed we were a family. But you chose him, again and again. You risked your house for him, while telling me to manage on my own." Tears filled my mother's eyes. "Sarah, please understand. He's our only son." "I am your daughter," I said, my voice cracking for the first time. "And I deserve the same love, the same protection, the same chances." I took a deep breath and laid out my terms. "I will help you, but not the way you expect. I won't give you money to cover his mistakes again. Instead, I'm going to teach you something different." Over the next few weeks, I took control in ways they never expected. I used my growing network to negotiate with the bank. I created a strict repayment plan. I forced Michael to get a real job and made my parents agree to stop enabling him financially. But the real revenge wasn't just that. I started sharing my story anonymously on social media through my marketing pages, not nomming them directly, but talking about family favoritism, invisible daughters, and how I rebuilt my life after betrayal. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people related. My agency grew faster. I started getting interviews on local podcasts and even a small feature in a regional business magazine. My name became known in the Chicago marketing scene. My parents watched from the sidelines as their quiet, reliable daughter suddenly became successful, confident, and respected. Michael struggled. Without unlimited support, he finally had to face consequences. He had to grow up, slowly. 1 year later, I bought my own beautiful 2-bedroom condo in a nice neighborhood with sunlight streaming through big windows. I invited my parents over for dinner, not to show off, but to close the chapter. As we sat at the table, my father looked at me with different eyes. Respect, maybe even regret. "Sarah," he said quietly, "we were wrong. We didn't see what we were doing to you." I smiled softly. "I know, but I'm not angry anymore. I forgave you, not for you, for me, so I could move forward." My mother reached for my hand, tears in her eyes. "We're so proud of you." For the first time, I actually believed them. I had taken my power back, not by destroying them, but by building a life so strong that their betrayal could no longer break me. I had turned my pain into purpose, my invisibility into strength. If you're watching this and you've ever felt like the forgotten child, the one who always gave more but received less, I want you to hear me. Your worth is not decided by your family's favoritism. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply refusing to stay small. You rise, you build, you become the person they never thought you could be. And one day, when you're standing in your own light, they'll finally see what they almost lost. That night, as I closed the door behind my parents after dinner, I stood in my quiet condo and smiled. I was no longer the girl waiting outside the door, hoping to be loved equally. I had become the woman who learned to love herself enough to walk away from anything that made her feel small. And that was the sweetest justice of all.